video I will be recapping the chapter 64 of this manhwa called Revenge of the Iron-Blooded Sword Hound. The swordsman with the iron blood, the owner of Baskerville, one of the 7 families of the Great Empire. Hugo le Baskerville, the best swordsman in the empire who expelled the barbarians far beyond the borders and also exterminated hundreds of monsters. Once Hugo decided on a direction, he never looked back. He was truly known as a man with iron blood. But now Hugo's feelings began to tremble as he saw the little girl in front of him. Hugo was speechless when he saw Pomerian's face. Pomerian hugged Vicar with all her strength and tearfully told him that she was very scared, leaving Vicar both shocked and confused at the same time. Tears streaming down her face, Pomerian looked at Hugo again, then started crying once more and told Vicar that she was very scared of that man's mustache, leaving Chihuahua speechless. Upon seeing the situation, Vicar quickly intervened and asked his father to calm down. Nervously, he also explained to Hugo that she was a little girl he had personally brought for an errand. He also explained that initially when he saw her red eyes, he thought they were a family trait, but later after investigating, he found out that she was from a border tribe. Vicar also told him that there was no chance she was someone known to their family, leaving Hugo speechless. Hugo quickly calmed down, and then put his hand on his head and thought that he had made a mistake, since if Penelope were still alive, she couldn't be the same age as the little girl. Hugo stood up and started heading towards the exit, deciding to go back home as he was quite tired. At that moment, Vicar looked at him intently and somewhat nervously asked him to be careful. He thought to himself how Hugo, a person with the soul of a sword master, was so surprised to see Pomerian, so Vicar quickly came to the conclusion that there was definitely something there. Hugo turned around and asked Vicar to attend the grand banquet tomorrow. Upon hearing Hugo's words, Chihuahua was confused and thought to himself that the grand banquet was a dinner where only a very small number of immediate family members gathered. He also thought that the dream of every lower Baskerville was to attend the banquet. Vicar said goodbye to Hugo, telling him that they would see each other tomorrow. Just before leaving through the door, Hugo looked at Pomerian once again, who was in Chihuahua's scared arms. That same night, Vicar placed some pillows on his bed and covered them with sheets while he lay down on the floor next to the bed. With an empty stare, Vicar thought that after washing himself with hot water and lying on the soft bed, he felt uncomfortable and couldn't sleep. He started to wonder if this was due to the influence of the 2 years he had spent with the Balak warriors. He also thought that the influence of the warriors would be ingrained in him for some time. He thought that Hugo's reaction had been quite unexpected. Based on his previous reaction to the incident with Pomerian and the amulet, he had to make a decision. After the grand feast tomorrow, he planned to hint to Hugo that Pomerian might prove to be a good card for him to strike a decisive blow. Either way, he had to do it in a way that wouldn't harm Pomerian. Vicar closed his eyes to sleep, but at that moment, the curtain in his room moved. Vicar quickly realized that something was wrong. His senses did not fail him as a hooded woman entered his room. The woman slowly unsheathed her knife and approached Vicar's bed. At that moment, a voice told the woman that less than a day had passed since he had returned, but news traveled fast. Vicar placed one of his hands on the bed and, using the momentum, delivered a powerful kick to the hooded woman. The woman managed to dodge the kick at the last second, but in the process, she dropped her knife, which flew and embedded itself in the wall. In the blink of an eye, Vicar placed his hand under the hooded woman's throat, but at that moment, the woman quickly asked him to wait a minute. She began to tell him that it was just a joke. Upon hearing the woman's voice, Vicar immediately recognized her. Vicar moved closer to the woman's face and asked her to request a formal meeting from now on, as he could have accidentally killed her. The woman replied that sleeping on the floor disguised as a pillow was a strange sleeping habit. The woman slowly started to remove her mask and told Vicar that even if he died and came back to life, nothing had changed about him. After removing the mask, the woman greeted him, and Vicar looked at her and asked her not to cause a scene by calling her by her name, Sindhu Wendy. She began to approach the bed and asked Vicar if he had sent her to Chihuahua, and she also asked him how he had known that she was going with the girl who received 10 billion. Vicar began to put on his shirt and replied that trust was generated by increasing wealth. He also added that he had taken note of her behavior pattern in order to eventually ignore it all. Sindhu Wendy sat on the bed and told him that robbing him was rude. She also explained that as a financial planner, the only thing she did was receive unemployment bonuses. She also explained that if it weren't for her, all the 10 billion that Judy received would have been wasted. Vicar denied her words by telling her that bodyguards had been added to prevent that. Sindhu Wendy, somewhat confused, asked Vicar if there was no way the bodyguards could do something like that. Vicar revealed to her that financial experts had also been assigned among the bodyguards. He himself had given orders to filter various traders. Sindhu Wendy, somewhat surprised, asked if he was referring to those bodyguards. Vicar looked her in the eyes and reminded her that he himself had ordered her to let them get close. She immediately realized that Vicar had been with playing her from beginning to end. As Vicar was fixing his hair, He asked Cinderwendy what information he had requested. She reached into her suit and pulled out envelopes with information and handed them to Vikir. Seeing this, he thought that her personality hadn't changed much in the past 2 years. He asked Cinderwendy to place it in the file next time and send it instead of hiding it in her suit. In exchange for this information, Vikir decided to fulfill his promise to build a bridge for trade with the natives. Cinderwendy replied that from now on she would have to call him boss. As Vikir looked at the envelopes, he thought to himself that these envelopes contained information about the people who would attend the banquet tomorrow. He also thought that since he had made a contribution, he hoped to be invited to the banquet. According to the information in the envelopes, the people who were going to attend the banquet were Hugo Le Baskerville, holding the patriarch rank with the status of Marquis, with the military prestige of Swordmaster. Upon seeing Hugo's envelope, Vikir thought that there was no need to check the information about him, but upon opening the following envelopes, he was shocked and asked Cinderwendy if these people were also going to attend. The envelopes contained information about Boston Terrier Le Baskerville, with the rank of captain of the Pitbull Knights, senator. With the status of count, the highest ranked military prestige according to the information, he was Hugo Le Baskerville's half-brother. He also hated being tied to any place and had a very aggressive and unruly personality. The other envelope contained information about Great Dane Le Baskerville, a captain of the Mastiff Knights and a senator. With the status of count, the highest ranked military prestige, he was Hugo Le Baskerville's half-brother. He didn't get along with anyone, but had a particularly bad relationship with the Count, Boston Terrier. Vikir became somewhat confused upon seeing this since these people usually didn't attend family events. He asked Cinderwendy what was going on. Cinderwendy replied that they were coming to see the young Baskerville legend who had returned alive. She also assumed they would come to take Vikir to their nightly orders. Vikir started looking at the other envelopes and told her he was sure he would be quite tired tomorrow. Among the envelopes, he saw one that contained information about Osiris Le Baskerville, a representative with the status of Viscount and the highest ranked military prestige. He was Hugo Le Baskerville's eldest son and was currently the first heir of the family. Upon seeing this, Vikir asked Cinderwendy if Osiris was also going to attend. She explained that Osiris was the eldest son of the Baskerville family. Growing and replicating Hugo's past, his sword skills were already on par with the 7 counts, and it was estimated that he would soon reach the level of Swordmaster. Vikir thought that before returning, he had seen Osiris several times from afar. He was a quiet and cold person who didn't even greet his subordinates or his younger siblings in the direct lineage. Cinderwendy asked Vikir if, excluding the patriarch and the 7 counts, Osiris would be the strongest of the Baskervilles. She began to wonder if Vikir was stronger than Osiris. Vikir advised her not to try to guess his fighting power at a glance. Among the information in the envelopes, he saw information about a person who he had heard was receiving training in a closed facility. He started wondering if this person would briefly come out to attend the banquet. This person was Set Le Baskerville, a consul of the underdog city and a member of the Chamber of Representatives. He held the status of Viscount and had an intermediate level military prestige. He was Hugo Le Baskerville's second son and was currently the second heir of the family. His talent for sword handling was far behind his elder brothers, and he had been particularly sickly from a young age. His personality was not typical of a Baskerville, as he was gentle and kind. When he was young, Hugo would chase him for being weak. He was the only one who shed tears for the hounds that died like trash. He was the only respectable person in Baskerville. Vikir thought there must be a reason why he had to meet him. After reviewing all the envelopes, Vikir forcefully left them on the table and told Cinderwendy that these were unexpected names. Cinderwendy, somewhat confused and angry, explained that she had done a lot of research and also asked why he had rushed to look at them. Vikir simply replied that he knew them better than anyone else. He thought to himself that there would be a great feast tomorrow. He started staring at the envelopes and with a smile, he told Cinderwendy that many fun things were going to happen tomorrow. This is the end of the video. If you guys want to see the next part, don't forget to subscribe and like the video.